Hello and welcome to the 2 Cent Tarot 2024 Tarot and Oracle Collection Tour. We're going to go through every single one of the Tarot and Oracle decks I own in this video, okay? Starting out strong, we have the Reigning Rouge Tarot. This one will run you about $50. It is one of those decks that honestly I find myself reaching for extremely specific things like love readings. I mean, it just has that aesthetic, and all of the cards feature animals, which I absolutely love. I love the color scheme as well. I would personally describe this deck as just whimsical enough. Up next, we have the Ethereal Visions Luna Edition Tarot, which will run you $26.95. Not a bad price for this deck. However, I will say this is one of the copies that I got from Kickstarter, and now it is a mass market deck. So I can't really speak to the current quality of the cards. I know the price is lower than what I paid, but at the end of the day, it is still a beautiful deck, and I know the mass market version still has that beautiful holographic rainbow gilding. The Prisma Visions Tarot is very special and dear to my heart. You can see I have two versions of this deck. The one on the left that I'm about to show you is the old version. This is actually the second tarot deck I ever got, I think, and I used it religiously. You're about to see the sides of this deck are so beat up, but the art still beautiful, still beautiful. Now, I did not personally like the super duper shiny cardstock, and I prefer the modern version's cardstock, which is a nice matte finish. You'll see it in a second. The box is just beautiful. I had to show y'all this box because James R. Eads, who's the creator of this deck, always makes products that I want to like display. They're just that beautiful. They always are. I mean, I'm telling you, he never ever misses. The silver edges on the deck are just absolutely beautiful, and the inside of the box is even really beautiful. This is the Jean Doodle Tarot de Marseille. It is $50, and it is by Artisan Taro. One of my favorite tarot brands. Their specialty is preserving and kind of like revamping these historical tarot decks, and I have so much respect for that. They always do such an amazing job, and you can't really ask for anything more. The cardstock is perfect on these decks. Now, I don't know how to say this person's name, but this is a mini Trump deck by Artisan Tarot. It's $20. You will come to find that I have a lot of Artisan Tarot decks, okay? They've been very generous and sent me quite a few decks. I love the little tiny Trump decks for on-the-go readings, and they're always just so pretty to look at. This is a very unique Oracle deck called the Empyrean Oracle. It's $88. You'll see why in a second. Look at the holographic, and would you believe me if I told you that the holographic doesn't stop on the outside of the box? Okay, the whole deck is holographic. Threads of Fate is the brand that designed this deck, and they consistently put out great work. I highly recommend checking out Threads of Fate. I have another deck from them. It's a tarot deck. You'll see it later on in the video, but have you ever seen an Oracle deck like this? And it comes with that really beautiful guidebook as well. I love this deck. I don't use it enough. I wish I used it more. I'm gonna use it more. Up next is the original version of the Ethereal Visions Tarot. Again, this is a now mass market deck. You can see it's $23.95. I can't speak to the quality of the mass market deck because I don't own that version of this deck. However, it's printed by US Games, and I'm sure it is just as good, if not better. This is the Embroidered Forest Tarot, and it'll set you back $74.99. However, this deck is so unique. I feel as though if you are drawn to it, then it is for you, okay? The person who created this deck sat down and embroidered the art for all of the cards, took high quality pictures of the embroidery, and then put it on this amazing cardstock. You won't regret buying this deck if you feel drawn to it. This is the Weaver Tarot Ascendant Edition, which is unfortunately unavailable. It is the other deck that I have, created by Threads of Fate. Now, I reach for this one pretty frequently, okay? The Weaver Tarot is a classic. I recommend checking out the Weaver Tarot because they have other versions of this deck available in different colors and different types of holographic. So definitely check it out. It is one of those tried and true decks that's going to last you a very, very long time. Another Artisan Tarot deck. Is anyone shocked? I don't know how to say the name of this deck, but it translates to the Ambiguous Tarot or the Tarot of Ambiguity. I think something like that. Absolutely beautiful deck. It's a reimagining of the Tarot de Marseille, and it's just so unique and quirky, and I really have never seen anything else like it. Highly recommend checking this one out too. Here we have another deck by Threads of Fate called the Illuminators Amulet. It is currently unavailable as well. I love this little deck for a quick and easy reading. It gives you such direct and simple answers like unveil your truth. And the holographic is just insane on this deck. You could literally like bring a plane down with the flash. Here we have the Alleyman's Tarot. This is my one and only Frankenstein deck, and it is currently unavailable. Okay, if you don't know, a Frankenstein deck is a deck where a bunch of different cards from a bunch of different decks come together to create sometimes a mega deck like the Alleyman's Tarot. Now, I have put my own cards in there, like any extra cards I've had that I wanted to add to that deck have made their way in. Just to be clear, you're gonna see a lot of cards. Just again, remember, I put some of them in there, like that one and that one. It's definitely a highly unique deck. This is the Prisma Visions Oracle, which is a sister to the Prisma Visions Tarot that I showed you earlier. This one costs $50 as well, and it is on that same exact cardstock as the new version of the Prisma Visions deck. The gilding on the side of the cards is meant to resemble labradorite, and I think it does that so well. This is a kind of reimagining of the traditional tarot in oracle form. You can see that the 0 card in this oracle deck is death, whereas it would traditionally be the Fool. Also, all of the cards in the minor arcana line up to make a really big, pretty picture. Here is the Bonfire Tarot, which this is not a deck I really used. I got it, but I didn't really resonate with the art style. It's pretty, and I do think that it serves its own purpose. It would be great for a certain group of people. The guidebook is so dense with information about different types of symbolism, so it definitely is unique in its own way. It's meant to resemble tattoo art, and I think it does a good job of doing so. It's just personally not something I find myself reaching for. The Spirit Keeper's Tarot is my absolute favorite tarot deck. It's $65 and it's worth every single penny. Every single aspect of this deck has been so well thought out, all the way down to the symbolism on the packaging. Look at the gilding on the side of the deck. It is such a warm, rich gold, and the artwork to this deck is just absolutely stunning. I can't put this deck down. It is a deck that I will only use on and for my own personal readings. It means that much to me. Each card has a spirit associated with it, and this deck is meant to help you understand what parts of divinity are currently at play in your life. If you want a tarot deck that is just drenched in its own lore and cultural significance, this is the deck for you. Highly recommend. Another Artisan Tarot deck, the Tarot de Jacqu. I don't know how to say these names, okay? This is a $53 tarot deck, and all I know is that the art is beautiful, all right? I love that they bring these old decks back into circulation. I think that it is such important and admirable work, and for that, you should check out Artisan Tarot. One of my absolute favorite decks, the Tarot of the Unknown. Okay, this is a deck inspired by Over the Garden Wall, which is a wonderful animated series. It perfectly encapsulates the feelings of fall, and I bring this deck out every single fall and give myself readings with it. It is just so beautiful. I have an old version, that's the first one I showed you, and then the one I'm showing you now is the newest version of this deck. I think that this one is unavailable, but if it ever comes into print again and you have an opportunity to grab it and you like Over the Garden Wall, don't miss out. It's just really one of those decks that is going to always shock you and stun you, genuinely. If you love the show, it's crazy how well they've integrated the characters into the deck. This is the Houseplant Tarot. Okay, listen, if you like houseplants, hey. If you don't like houseplants, probably not going to be the deck for you. I like to use this deck to actually talk to my plants. I will pull it out and just ask them if they need anything from me or if there's anything I need to know, and I'll pull a card and typically get my answer. There's so many different plants in this deck. It's very diverse. Highly recommend for plant lovers. Now, if you're a foodie, then this deck is for you, okay? This is such a unique deck. I've honestly used this deck to help me decide what I'm gonna eat for dinner, and that is about the singular purpose it serves. I do like to give funny readings with this deck because sometimes the card combinations are just hilarious. I like this deck for its kind of specific use. Now, I'm a sucker for this old kind of cartoon style that the Mystical Medleys Tarot deck has. For $26.95, I'll be honest, this deck is not a bad deal. The packaging is done extraordinarily well. The packaging is done extraordinarily well for $26.95, and I find that to be impressive. Also, the guidebook for this deck is hardcover, and adorable. The whole deck is adorable, honestly. If you're into this style of cartoon, probably gonna be the deck for you. I have such a love-hate relationship with the True Black Tarot. It's $95. I honestly can't recommend this deck to you, at least not the version of this deck that I have. Maybe they've made like some changes to the card stock and stuff. I don't know. You know, at your own risk. But for $95, you can't shuffle this deck. The card stock is insane. You can't shuffle it. It's beautiful, but it's extraordinarily difficult. Here we have another mass market deck, the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot. For $26.95, it's not a bad deal. If you like flashy, shiny, golden things, then this is absolutely the deck for you. All of the cards have a pretty golden holographic spot on them somewhere, and overall it's just a really beautiful deck to look at. I also like the backs of the cards. Now, this is my favorite Oracle deck ever, the Threadbound Oracle. It is worth every penny of $50. It is one of those decks that just leaves an impression on you. I actually had a friend, Light Wands, recommend this deck to me, and I could not be more happy that I listened. There's also a book that you can purchase alongside this deck that helps add context to each of the cards through story. And we have the Big Top Tarot, which is one of my more recent additions, and for $53, I would say this is a deck that you have to feel drawn to really purchase. You gotta like the circus clown vibe, you know? Other than that, very whimsical, very fun, I love it. Up next is Incromancy for Kick-Ass, which is a tattoo-themed tarot deck where each individual card is drawn by a different tattoo artist from someplace in the world. So you have some very unique cards here and just an overall very unique art style. Something different with each card you pull, and I can really appreciate that after looking at the same old art over and over. Another newer addition to my collection is the Ink Witch Tarot 2nd edition. Now, this deck is currently unavailable. I did put a link to this deck creator's website in the description though, so check that out. Maybe sign up for like their little email newsletter so you can get some news if this deck goes back in stock. They also have other really cool decks. Now we have the Theodore Pavlov Tarot, which is $46.95. Now this is a mass market deck. I ordered it from US Games, but this is one of those mass market decks that you can tell the person in charge of its production really cared about it. You know, the cardstock is beautiful, the gilding is beautiful, the box is beautiful, the guidebook is hardback. You can't ask for much more. Okay, this one is kind of a big one, so stay with me. This is the Green Glyphs collection, which is a collection that comes with a tarot deck, an oracle deck, a Lenormand deck, and a rune deck, okay? And this beautiful glossary, I mean, stunning. For $180, yeah, you're getting 4 decks, a guidebook, a beautiful display box, everything. And all the decks are very similar, like the boxes are the same, they're just the different colors you can see there. The art style between all the decks, very beautiful, very cohesive. They create like a good experience together. So the collection, absolutely, I would recommend it. You can pause to get previews of the other decks right here, but I'm not gonna show them. If there was ever a tried and true tarot deck, it is the Smith-Waite Borderless Tarot. For $23.95, I would say this is the basic, beginner, classic, traditional deck, right? Like, this is the one that I'm always gonna have when I wanna see the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. I love that it's borderless. I love that Pamela Coleman Smith's signature's on the back of the cards. Just my absolute favorite Smith-Waite. I've had this one for a while too, the Lightseers Tarot, and I did not think I was going to like it. But for $24.99, it's a good deck. It has modernized art that is very reminiscent of the Smith-Waite Tarot, but again, it's just got a more modern twist. The cards are much more colorful. It's its own vibe, honestly, and I would recommend this deck for a beginner, like just for someone's first deck. Speaking of decks for beginners, this is the Doodle Tarot Keyword Edition. An absolutely adorable deck that's packaging is meant to look like a composition notebook. The backs of the cards have that composition notebook pattern, and the cards themselves have the keywords on them. Great for a beginner. They also make a version of this deck that doesn't have the keywords if you're interested in that. Another new addition to my collection, the Ryder Marseille Tarot, $53 from Artisan Tarot, and this is a combination of the Smith-Waite imagery with the Marseille art style, okay? So just so unique. It's a one-of-a-kind tarot deck, and it is so well done. The artist really mastered this style. Last but not least, we have the Territorial expanded mini and full-sized tarot decks. This is the training deck, okay? Or if you just don't want to memorize 78 cards, but you still want to give yourself tarot readings, this is the one. This is the one. Simply, you can see all the information that you would need, and the artwork is right there on every single card for the full-size deck and the mini deck. They are both absolutely beautiful. The quality is there, and there will never be a time when I don't recommend this deck. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found your next favorite deck. I'll do another one of these in 2025, and if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and liking the video.